Part 3 of 4 touches on the concept of succession and how to create food forests and guilds. It covers information about plant functions and also permaculture's generous use of perennials. When land is not disturbed by people, what does it eventually turn into? Well, when land is left alone, in most parts of the world, in temperate areas, it turns into a forest. In forest succession, each stage prepares the soil and environment for the next. Pioneers are very hardy and can handle harsh elements and extremes in temperatures. Each stage provides shelter for the next, and some fix nitrogen as well. Climax forests are stable ecosystems that remain largely unchanged for hundreds of years, and this is where most life exists. I think food forests are really the climax of permaculture. They emulate and perform the functions of natural forests. They're complex symbiotic networks that are self-sustaining. The roots hold nutrients and water. In fact, nearly all fresh water comes from forest watersheds. The trees protect waterways. They fill underground aquifers, and they create springs. They also create humidity, which turns into clouds, which in turn attract higher clouds and make rainfall. They also slow rainfall, prevent runoff, and topsoil loss. They offer protection from floods, storms, and wind. The leaves clean the air. They regulate the temperature. They have a cooling effect in summer and a warming effect in winter. The forests create homes. They invite life. The organic matter builds really good topsoil. There's no tilling, so the soil actually improves over time. The soil life and mycorrhizal fungi networks are left intact. Food forest gardens make use of all the possible layers, so they're efficient and productive. These include the taller canopy layer, a smaller tree layer, a shrub layer, a herbaceous layer, a root crop layer, a ground cover, and also climbers or vines. You could even include a fungal layer for mushrooms and a wetland layer for water-loving plants. Here's some ideas for food forest layers in temperate climates. They include edible hardy perennials, nitrogen-fixing trees and plants, and many of these listed are not commonly cultivated, so you might not be able to find these fruits in your local grocery store, but they are easy to care for. Midwest Permaculture has some fantastic e-booklets on their website, which you can download there for free, including this document here. Food forest gardens are not a new thing. In South and Southeast Asia, there are tree gardens that are often hundreds of years old. This is a Candian forest garden in Sri Lanka, and it's very diverse. It includes spices, timber, medicine, food, and fruit, and it's a stable, sustainable system. This is a food forest garden at the Central Rocky Mountain Permaculture Institute in Basalt, Colorado. It's at 7,200 feet, and it's on a steep, rocky hillside. The native forest is pinyon juniper, with very dry soils and poor fertility. In spite of this, they've created a productive forest garden. They used sheet mulching, terracing for rainwater collection, chop and drop nitrogen fixers, and mulch plants to build the soil. The soil stores the infrequent rainfall and limited irrigation nicely. They left some islands of original vegetation in the garden for local biological diversity and pest control. Here's another view of the food forest garden. It includes apple, pear, apricot, and plum trees, hawthorn, chokeberry, mountain ash, and mulberry. They planted Siberian pea shrubs, Russian olive, and natives including New Mexico locust, buffalo berry, and mountain mahogany. They also have Nanking cherries, gooseberries, and currants, and beans. The perennials are lovage, comfrey, horseradish, astragalus, mint, and garlic. They also have self-seeding annuals like salad greens, lamb's quarters, and brassicas. When I contacted them, they said they do not have a fence to protect their food forest. Instead, they use plants as deterrents, and they keep a dog on site that acts as a good bear deterrent. Here's a picture of Jerome Ostentowski, who's the founder of Central Rocky Mountain Permaculture Institute. He's giving a tour of his greenhouses, which is what they're actually most known for. Their greenhouses use passive and active solar technology. They call the technology a climate battery. It's a subterranean air circulation system that takes the hot, moist ambient air from the greenhouse during the day, stores it in the soil, and discharges it at night. They have two greenhouses, one with tropical, one with subtropical climates. So they grow bananas, papayas, and plenty of exotics. Jerome Ostentowski has a book on how to create the forest garden greenhouse. And if you're interested in learning more about forest gardens, I highly recommend Dave Jack's book, Edible Forest Gardens, as well as Martin Crawford. He's a gardener in the UK, and he grows about 500 species of edible plants in his food forest. And it only takes a few hours of maintenance each month for him to care for them. Ishtal Renee of 8th and B allowed me to use this diagram of plant functions. In addition to considering layers, you want to choose plants according to the functions they perform. Some plants are edible, some support the ecosystem, and some do both. Ensuring these roles are met makes the plants happy, the soil rich, and the food nutritious. Fertilizers and pesticides are not needed because the system works together harmoniously. The plant functions include nitrogen fixers, which are often in the legume family. Pioneer trees are also nitrogen fixers. These include alder, Russian or autumn olive, silverberry, locusts, red stem dogwood, sea buckthorn, bayberry, and buffalo berry. By dropping leaves and by small roots constantly growing and rotting in the soil, they spread nitrogen. Pollinators is another of the plant functions. You want to aim for blooming all year round. You can use plants, and you can also use local flowering trees and bushes. Dynamic accumulators are plants that have long roots that mine nutrients from deep within the soil, making them available to others in the ecosystem. These include nettle, yarrow, and lamb's quarters. Repellers are often plants that provide habitat for beneficial insects, such as wasps, that help keep a bug balance in the ecosystem. They can also be plants that animals don't like the smell of. Mulchers are also important for building the soil. These include deciduous trees that produce lots of leaves in the fall, and comfrey and rhubarb are popular mulchers. Suppressors are plants that inhibit grasses. You can plant a ring of them around a fruit tree's drip line so the tree won't be competing with grass for nutrients. Ramps, camas, lilies, and other spring bulbs work well for this. Creating a guild is one way of breaking down a food forest into a smaller chunk so it's easier to design. This guild from the Resiliency Institute shows the layers and plant functions working together. The plants in this guild are compatible with fruit trees. You want to choose plants for your zone, precipitation, and length of growing season. Keep in mind that for every 1,000 feet above sea level, it's approximately 10 degrees Celsius or 3.5 degrees Fahrenheit cooler. Pay attention to soil type, but know that adding organic matter will fix most problems. Choose companion plants. There may be some trial and error involved. Choose lots of perennials and self-seeding varieties. If you want to, you can certainly mix in annuals to the guild. You may also want to consider analog climates. The World Köppen classification system can inform you of other areas around the world that have a climate like your own. You can research their native plants and integrate them into your guild or garden. This fruit tree guild shows how they are mini ecosystems. They are like a small portion of a food forest. I love how they're a manageable size and how you can fairly easily protect them from animals until the trees are mature. Permaculture focuses on plants that are easy to grow and low maintenance, like hardy perennials and self-seeding plants. Eric Toensmeyer wrote Perennial Vegetables. He searched the earth for useful perennials and wrote this fabulous resource. Some of the interesting plants you can consider are hardy kiwi, persimmons, pawpaw, northern nuts such as northern pecans, northern almonds, yellowhorn nuts, the linden tree, bay laurel tree, Szechuan pepper tree, nodding onion and walking onion, tree kale or collard trees, Russian pomegranate, Chinese jujube, ice cream banana, hardy fig, chayberry, mulberries, the maypop passion fruit vine, gummy berries, goji berries, aronia and hacksap berries, josta berries, sea buckthorn, and nitrogen-fixing trees like the autumn olive. If a plant is banned in your area, then certainly don't use it. But there is a movement to label certain hardy plants invasive and to wipe them out. According to some specialists, this is misguided and unnecessary. Animals and people have been moving plants around since the beginning of life. Most of our annual vegetables could be considered non-native. The plants labeled invasive are often pioneers that heal the soil, remove toxins, fix nitrogen, and prepare the land to become a climax forest once again. These plants normally only exist in areas where the land has been disturbed. Many are edible and useful. Some argue that they are less a threat than the toxic chemicals used to poison them. I encourage you to become aware and research who is funding the eradication of invasive species in your area.